Tonight, a mysterious illness has taken over the DC Universe, and by mysterious illness, I mean the common cold, and by DC Universe, I mean me. Dear Lord, please help me. All that and more tonight on the Not So New 52. Hello everyone and welcome to episode 64 of the Not So New 52. I am your host and I am sick. I have a cold. I've had it for a week and I literally waited as long as I possibly could to record this episode, hoping that it would pass. But unfortunately, my throat is sore, my nose is stuffed, and I want to die. Also, because I waited so long, I'm really pressed for time as well. So pretty much nothing's going my way here, and I just want to get these comics done because for some reason I made a commitment to do this. So this week we have 13 comics, including the number 14 issues of Batwoman, Birds of Prey, Catwoman, Nightwing, Red Hood and the Outlaws, Supergirl, Green Lantern New Guardians, DC Universe Presents, Justice League, Wonder Woman, Blue Beetle, and Legion of Superheroes, as well as the number 2 issue of Sword of Sorcery. Oh boy, on my sick week, I get Legion of Superheroes. That's just... thank you so much for that. Anyway, I don't want to talk more than I have to. Let's move on to comics. Catwoman number 14, written by Nocenti, art by Rafa, Sandoval. So last issue, Catwoman was brought onto a job that involved moving a chess piece to some other location, and then she found out that the chess pieces were actually people that had bombs strapped to them, and she saved a little orphan boy. Or girl. Genuinely can't tell. Turns out it's the Joker. Turns out this is a Death of the Family tie-in, and I don't get it. So, Joker just shows up here. He's like, ah, yes, my little game. You did well. So, if you want to save the child because they still have a bomb strapped to their chest that will go off, you need to come with me. And by the way, isn't it weird that you're like a villain, but you're not because you're trying to save kids? And Catwoman's like, I don't care about this kid, but I'll still go with you and then you can let the kid go. And Joker's like, cool, let's go to hell. And they go to a place called the Hellhole Ride at the Elliott Beach Amusement Park, where once they get there, Joker straps Catwoman down to like, I'm guessing that it's one of those like centrifuge rides at an amusement park, and then just like lets the kid go. So, kid's safe, which I don't feel like Joker would do. But regardless, he starts spinning the thing so fast that all of Catwoman's clothes start ripping off. Yeah. And she's like, oh no, it feels like my eyeballs are flattening and my skin is peeling off. But none of that happens. It's just her clothes. And as it's about to get too much to bear, she's hit by a stream of water that she's like, I don't even know where this is coming from. And then it looks like she's like drowning, but that might just be a mental thing. And she passes out for a little bit. And then hours later she comes to with Joker like giving her CPR, and she freaks out, kicks Joker away, and Joker's like, hey, sorry about your costume. I made you a new one. This one doesn't squeak when you walk. So she puts on the new costume that Joker gave her, and the art takes special notice to say when the costume passes over her ass and her chest. And then she starts beating the crap out of the Joker, until finally she freezes up because she's revealed that Joker put a paralyzing agent inside the suit. So she's forced to just sit there and listen to Joker. And Joker's like, hey, you keep on, you got a thing going on with Batman because you keep on waiting for him to save you, but it seems like he's not showing up this time. So let's find out how many ways there are to skin a cat. First is kidnapping, second is centrifugal force, the third one, as Joker reveals, is strip poker, And he built like these tables way up high in the Gotham skyline, which I don't even know how they're supposed to be supported because they're literally like just floating. And so she loses strip poker, and Catwoman's like, "You suck, Joker." And then Joker starts going through a fake story from his childhood of how his dad kicked him out of the house and forced him to like fend for himself eating out of trash cans. And Catwoman's like, "That's not. You're clearly lying. You're an idiot, Joker. I'm not going to listen to you." And so Joker uses a little metal stick that has like lips on the end, kisses Catwoman on the cheek with it, and that has the antidote to the paralytic agent. And when she gets home, she takes off her costume. This is hours later, and she's covered in bat symbols. 'Cause yeah. So she starts scrubbing them off. Gwen shows up and is just like, "Hey, what the heck is going on? Why aren't you answering your phone?" She's like, "I have had a hell of a night, Gwen. Can you get in contact with the guy who set me up with that chess dude?" And it's like, "Yeah, sure." So they meet up at a hotel, and Catwoman's like, "Do you know who you just sent me for a job?" And he's like, "Nah, I wasn't paid to know. I was literally, he gave me like a butt ton of money, so I wasn't going to ask." And he's like, "Okay, well, he's stalking me, so please stop. Like, tell him to stop." And he's like, "All right, well, the guy just sent over a bonus for you because you did such an extra special good job." So she's got a lot of money now. Catwoman's then just standing there like, "Huh, so Joker's back, and he's talking a lot about Batman. Does Batman need me to save him?" And then an arrow comes out of nowhere saying, "New way to skin a cat with teeth." And then she's run off of a road by a ice truck, and then she's dangling over a vat of piranhas, to which Joker shows up being like, "Haha, do you care about Batman?" And she's like, "Yeah, what'd you do with Batman?" And he's like, "Ha, I knew you cared. By the way, those piranhas are fake. They're just toys." And at that point, Catwoman kicks him in the face again, and it's just like, "What are you doing to Batman? What in the heck is going on? No more games." And Joker basically just tells him, like, "Look, wouldn't it be great if you married Batman? Like, if you married Batman, he would get all soft and gooey and whatever, but you probably wouldn't actually stick around, which means you'd break his heart, which means he'd go, like, twice as hard. He'd really be the true mastermind I know he could be if he didn't have to worry about that heart anymore." So then he types out a little note on this weird label maker that says "Catwoman hates mice." And then Catwoman's like, "All right, stop it. Here's the thing. I'm not the one in love with Batman. I don't want him. You're the one in love with Batman." Joker's like, "Yeah, no duh. Clearly I'm the one in love with Batman." And Catwoman's like, "Batman's just a buzzkill. He's a spoilsport. I don't like him. He's not good. I don't need him. And I'm done with your games." And then Joker's like, "Well, all right. All you had to do was say so. Bye." And then they both go their separate ways. And the last caption here from Catwoman is, "He's so blind, he can't see. He just wants to be Batman's biatch." I give this a 3.5. I don't really need I have to justify that. That seems really, like, maybe I have to justify why it's as high as a 3.5, but I don't want to. It's a 3.5. Supergirl number 14, written by Mike Johnson, art by Mahmud Asrar. This is the next part to Hell on Earth, and it follows up pretty much directly after Superman, but also the last part of it was Superboy. So, yeah. Anyway, in Superman, Superman was attacked by a giant Kryptonian dragon beast, and he didn't know it was Kryptonian until he knocked it out. And then Supergirl was like, "Dude, you said we were the last surviving members of Krypton. What's this giant Kryptonian dragon doing?" So she thinks other things survived from Krypton. Anyway, picking up here, the dragon was picked up by Kara and Clark and brought to Dr. Veritas at the block in the center of the earth to study. And Veritas, speaking fluent Kryptonian, is like, "Oh yeah, no, cool, thanks. I'm really looking forward to studying this. It's good for alien biology and whatnot." So yeah, Thanks for bringing this down to me. And Supergirl's like, why did he say we were the last surviving members of Krypton, even if this thing exists? I can't believe Clark would lie or Kal-El would lie. And basically, she puts forward, like, maybe other things survived. Have we considered that? And Clark's like, no, because, like, this thing was an anomaly. It was already, like, partially dead when it attacked us, so, yeah, no, I wouldn't, like, it's okay to have hope. It's okay to have hope that other things survive from our planet, but, like, don't make it false hope. Got it? And Kara's like, all right, you believe whatever you want to believe, I'll believe whatever I want to believe. Deal? Bye. And Kal-El's like, okay, yeah, no, I'm sorry, but if you need anything, just call my name, I'll hear you. So he flies off, and Veritas is like, Supergirl, real quick, could I maybe study you? Because all I've ever gotten to study Kryptonian-wise is your cousin. And Kara's like, study? You mean probed? Just like my dad did when he put me in that space pod to send me to Earth? No, thank you. And she takes off, and she says how much she distrusts all of humanity, except for Shaban. And we see she's meeting back up with Shaban, and it's just like, yeah, no, it was a crazy dragon fight, totally cool. Anyway, where's your brother? And Shaban's like, oh, yeah, he went back to Ireland because he missed, the family for many, many years. I do think he has a crush on you, by the way. And she's like, what does that mean? And she's like, don't even worry about it. Anyway, yeah, I have a new house now. It's down at the bottom of the sea, and I promise to let you see it as soon as I can figure out how to safely get you down there. And she's like, yeah, no worries. Anyway, I think you should probably get going by now. Bye. And Supergirl flies out, and Shaban reveals that she still has her silver banshee powers, and they're getting harder and harder to control. So anyway, at that point, Kara goes down to her sanctuary, and Sanctuary's like, yeah, no, we finished running scans on Superman. That is definitely Kal-El, definitely your cousin. And Kara's like, I knew it. I didn't want to admit it, but I knew it. All right, well, maybe he's right. Maybe there's nothing left of Krypton. Boy, I sure am tired all of a sudden. I haven't been tired since I got here. I'm going to take a nap. And she just falls asleep right there on the floor. When she wakes up, she is in a fiery inferno, and she's like, what? Where am I? What's going on? And as she looks around, standing or hovering nearby her is Hell. The guy the story's about. And he's like, hey, this isn't a dream. These aren't the fire falls of Krypton as you think they are. This is the sun, and I brought you here. And Kara's like, why did you kidnap me? Why would you do this? And she goes to attack him, and it literally does nothing. He just takes it, and she's like, I can't feel my hands. Oh God, who are you? And he's like, hi, I'm a Kryptonian as well. We are both lost children of Krypton. Here's the thing. I studied under Jor-El, and Jor-El sent me off planet to learn things. Then Krypton exploded, and now I am here to gather the lost children of Krypton like you and your cousin, and I'm going to find a way to go back in time and save Krypton before its destruction. And she's like, what? What? And so he teleports her down to Earth, not like any power Superman's ever had, and he teleports her into the middle of some war zone where they're invincible and intangible. They can't be seen or touched or anything like that. And he's just like, these humans suck. This planet sucks. This is nothing like Krypton. We got to go get Krypton. That place was awesome. This sucks. And he sees a young boy who is stuck in the middle of this battlefield, and he's about to be collapsed, like rocks falling on him. And he puts up a force field around the kid in order to save him. And he's like, yeah, there, I saved one life, and yet like 200 other people just died here. This place sucks. Help me get Krypton back. And they teleport back to Sanctuary. And Hell, as a proof of that he only wants the best for Krypton, he has Superboy, Con-El, captured and unconscious. And he's like, you and I both know that clones are very, very, very dangerous, especially from Krypton. And as such, to prove that I am all for Krypton, I will kill this clone, if you want me to. And she's like, okay, why you're putting that on me? Okay, well, I guess, and Con-El starts to wake up, and he's like, hey, wait a minute, you're Supergirl. And she's like, oh God, he remembers me. Don't kill him, not yet. And he's like, Hell's like, all right, cool, and just makes him unconscious again, being like, all right, but why not yet? Like, what are we waiting on? She's like, I want to talk to my cousin. He's been here longer than me. I just, we gotta, you want all the children of Krypton, I gotta talk to him. And Hell's is like, okay, but like, he really believes in this planet, and it's going to be a lot harder to convince him. And Kara's like, so you're giving up on him? He's like, no, I'll never give up on him. But he is like an idiot. So at that point, he's like, you know what? If you think you can convince him, by all means, I'm going to give you a gift, and I'm going to teleport you over there. Okay? Just keep that in mind. And he teleports her to Clark's apartment, or rather the hallway right outside his apartment, and gives her the gift to finally be able to understand English. And probably speak it, but they don't show that part yet. So anyway, he's like, oh my god, I can understand, I can hear Cal. That's fantastic. So she goes up to Cal's apartment, and inside is, of course, Clark Kent talking to Lois Lane, and she just barges into Supergirl. And Lois is like, what? What's going on? So, yeah. No, I like this issue. Here's the thing. This feels like a more appropriate open to Hell on Earth than any of the other books we've gotten regarding Hell. Because the Superboy issue felt so stretched. Like it was spanning like 3 different events it had to cover. And the Superman issue itself wasn't bad. It was kind of just the eye catch, though. It wasn't really doing anything to tell me who Hell was, especially because he just appeared in the last panel for no reason. I think that this issue is the one that's like, okay, I get the story now. I know what we're doing. So this is the first time that I want to say that, like, I actually kind of am looking forward to seeing what comes next in Hell on Earth, because we've got 3 more or less battling sides. Supergirl wants one thing, Superman wants another, Superboy wants another. It's a nice little super family book. I have no issues with that at all. So overall, I'm going to say this one gets I'm going to give it a 7.5. I think it did a very good job at explaining what the quote-unquote villain of the arc wants without making it seem too blatantly villainous. It's like, yeah, no, he wants to leave this planet and go back to Krypton. And I'm sure we'll have some horrible, horrific cost that we can't even begin to imagine, but for now, it's fine. It's a solid book. So, yeah, looking forward to the next part. I believe in Superman. Green Lantern New Guardians number 14, written by Tony Bedard, art by Andrei Bressan and Amilcar Pinna. Last issue left off with Kyle learning how to master the Red Rage and deciding, it's something that didn't make him feel good, but he needed to do it, and now he's off learning off all the other colors. This issue opens up with him wrapping up his learning of the Indigo Tribe's compassion, and he's there with Indigo 1, and basically he just teleported, and she's like, wow, yeah, good job, you did it on your first attempt. Compassion comes really easy to you. And he's like, yeah, no, compassion's like a good emotion. All the negative emotions suck. I don't understand how you Indigo Tribe, like, funnel all of them so easily. And Indigo 1's like, there's no such thing as a good emotion or a bad emotion. Like, you have to take both, like, they're opposites on the spectrum, but that doesn't make one better than the other. Like, you're going to have to understand that if you want to master fear. That's definitely a thing. By the way, why are you even doing this? And then he recants like, nah, the reason I'm doing it is to save Ganthet. Ganthet's like super important to me, and I gotta go help him because he's been trapped by the Guardians. And Indigo One's like, now, are you sure you're doing that for yourself, or is Star Sapphire using you? And Kyle's like, all right, well, that's not fair. Like, yeah, she wants to save Hal, but I want to save Hal too. That's no big deal. And she's like, all right, yeah, cool. Anyway, be very wary of her, because love is like the most dangerous of all of them, because love can be very unpredictable. And just like, all right, whatever. I'm going to go learn fear now, and I'm going to overcome it because I'm a Green Lantern. So then we watch Carol as she goes to the home planet of the Star Sapphires, planet Zamaron. And it seems to be like completely empty, save for the like race, the Zamaronians, I guess. And she goes up to her queen, and the queen's like, hey, I told everybody to go patrol their sector. You should be doing that. What's up? And she's like, I'm here to save Hal, and I love him, so I think that's what I should be doing the most, because, our whole thing is love. And she's like, excuse me, I'm the queen, and I'm going to take away your ring if you talk back to me like that again. But if you really want to save the guy you love, then by all means, fine. However, you are in charge of Kyle Rayner. You're the one who set him down this path. If he gets out of hand, you need to be the one that handles it. Got it? And it's like, yeah, sure, no problem. So then she leaves and the Guardians show up being like, hey, cool, great job keeping her with Kyle Rayner. Because Kyle's ring is too messed up. We can't even track it anymore. But we can track her, and she'll be with Kyle. So, good thinking. So anyway, we go to planet Vorn, where Arkillo has set up, and he's basically a terror god to the race on this planet. And the race is like, a Green Lantern is here, the enemy. And it's like, yeah, whatever. Can you just tell me where Arkillo is? And like, oh, he's down in the woods, but you will be killed. So he goes down to Arkillo, and Arkillo's like freaking out because his ring keeps on malfunctioning, and he's unable to like make any constructs or anything. And so Kyle sees this, and his compassion like ticks for just a second, and he makes 4 constructs of Sinestro that all start like tormenting Arkillo, and it's just like, oh, you were hiding in the woods and crying. You're not worthy of being a Yellow Lantern. And at that point, Arkillo gets extremely pissed off at it, and he sees Kyle's the one who's making them, and he's like, I will kill you for doing that. And he starts unleashing Yellow Lantern constructs on Kyle. And he's like, hey, I helped you uncork your ring. Like, that's literally the only thing I was trying to do there. He's like, yeah, great, thanks. I'm still going to kill you. And he keeps on attacking with the Yellow Lantern constructs. And at that point, Green Lantern's like, he's trying to figure out, like, what do I do? How do I get through to him that I'm helping him? And they go back to the words that Indigo One said earlier in the issue of sometimes fear is the proper reaction. And so Kyle admits that he's afraid, and he gains the ability over fear. And he fights against Arkillo briefly, and Arkillo's like, you, a Green Lantern, have more yellow energy than me, the Yellow Lantern, the last Yellow Lantern. This sucks. I suck. And he just tells him, like, dude, get over it. Your love for Sinestro is the only thing that's stopping you right now. He's like, I don't love nothing. And Carol shows up and it's like, everyone loves something, you idiot. And you definitely love Sinestro. Anyway, we gotta go. Kyle, are you good with your fear thing going on now? And she's like, oh yeah? Well, let me ask you this, Carol. Why did you pick Hal? Hal's a dick. Why did you pick him out of anyone you could have had on Earth? And Carol just like flashes her eyes for a second. And Arkillo's like, all right, well, you guys are clearly having a thing. You can go. I'm not going to join you. And Kyle's like, all right, whatever, bye. And he leaves with Carol. But then as soon as they get off planet, Arkillo joins up. And he's like, wait, actually, if you're going for Hal, I guarantee Sinestro is going to be with them. And then I'm going to kill Sinestro just to prove to you how much I don't love him. And also I'll be the last Yellow Lantern. So, yeah, I think it was good. I think it's a bit weird to me. Fear's never been very well defined in that Kyle got it by being afraid. And yet it seems that every other Yellow Lantern gets their power by causing fear, which does seem to be the opposite. Maybe this was explained in an earlier part in the run. I mean, we are coming in on the tail end of it, but it just seems weird to me that the Yellow Lantern Corps is causers of fear instead of feelers of fear, because everyone else is feelers of their emotion. Anyway, beyond that, it's a solid issue. It sets up what we need to set up. It's weird that it's a Rise of the Third Army tie-in, because there is actually no Third Army in this. Like, not even a brief glimpse over to what it is they're doing. The most you could say is the Zamaran plot with the Guardians in there, but that's not really tying in. That's just its own thing. So, yeah, no, it's a weird place for a tie-in, but obviously the story has to progress on Kyle's end where he's learning all the cores. And I think he has... What does he have left? He has greed and love, and that's all that's left. So, interested to see when we get these last two. I'm still into this story. I think the art looks great. throughout. Overall, I give this one I'll give it a 7. And the major drawback for me is that I don't know why they're trying to set up this thing of like, oh, Carol's just using you to get back Hal. And it's just like, yeah, that's still like, that's her thing. She loves Hal. It seems like it's trying to play it up to be more manipulative than it is when she's been pretty upfront about it the whole way through. So yeah, overall though, 7 for this. I did enjoy it. Batwoman number 14, written by J.H. Williams III and W. Haden Blackman, art by J.H. Williams III. Last issue we had Batwoman and Wonder Woman going to meet up with Pegasus, who is a dude, not a horse, and also the son of Medusa. And he came out all super wounded and gross looking. And there's kind of just a standoff briefly before he collapses to the ground because he is really not okay. And Batwoman comes up and examines his wounds and goes into like detective mode, saying like, ah, yes, because of this abrasion and this thing here. She puts together the whole fight scene in her head of Falchion showing up, who is also a son of Medusa, and them just trying to beat the crap out of each other, but Pegasus, of course, coming up on the losing end of that and taking a whole lot of major damage, including multiple sword stabs to his stomach, his head being blasted through glass, and his fingers bitten off. Very gruesome looking, but he has blue blood, so I guess it's allowed. So she walks through the whole thing and just like, yeah, okay, that's great and all. Oh, and he had wings, and now they're cut off. So Batwoman's like, okay, so why'd he do that? And Pegasus informs, because he wanted me to join him and my mother in their big goal thing that they're working towards. And I said no. And he just reveals the plan to him, just like, hey, look, they want death, they want some stuff, and I can tell you where they are right now, but I need you to do me a favor. And Wonder Woman's like, all right, what do you want? And he's like, I want you to kill me, because as a god, these wounds are going to like last forever. Like, it's going to take eons for me to heal, so I just want to die because this is agony. And Batwoman's like, no, we can't do that. But Wonder Woman's like, all right, fine, sure, whatever. So he informs him that the Medusa's currently in Gotham, because of course she is. And Wonder Woman's like, all right, well, thanks, bye. Cuts off his head, gives him a warrior's death. And Batwoman's, like, upset about it. She's like, there had to be another way. And Wonder Woman says, like, look, nobody believes in the gods anymore. Not like the old gods. The only way that he could be revived is if people still believe in him. And Batwoman's like, all right, well, then I choose to believe in him. So one day he can come back. So she burns his body. Wonder Woman sheds a tear because she's like, did I do the right thing there? I don't know. I'm a little bit iffy on that. So at that point, they hop in the bat jet and make their way back to Gotham in order to fight down Medusa. Turns out Medusa's already started her plans, though, because marching through the street is not only Medusa herself, but also La Llorona, Morrow, Bloody Mary, the dude with the hook hand, and did I say Killer Croc? Killer Croc's in there, too, who, of course, at this point is in his mutated state. And Maggie Sawyer and Harvey Bullock are trying to stop them as best they can, but of course they are literal creatures of myth. And we see Medusa doing her thing where she turns an officer to stone and her horse as well. And then we see Nightwing's battling one of them, Catwoman's battling one of them, Mr. Freeze is battling one of them. It's just kind of an all-out on Gotham thing, but it's very much just glossed over. And this whole time we're getting Medusa's internal monologue of like, ah, yes, here's how my elaborate plans have led to now, where my son Falchion created this cult to believe in me, therefore giving me power, and then they found my tomb and allowed me to escape. So, yeah, there's all that. So Medusa steps up to Killer Croc and is like, hey, I'm going to make you even more powerful. And he's like, ah, sweet, let's do it. So they sacrifice some blood and turn him into the Hydra. Like, literally towering over city streets Hydra. And At that point, Harvey's about to shoot Medusa from behind, but she's like gonna turn to look at him, and Maggie tackles him out of the way, saying like, "Don't look at her. She's clearly Medusa." And at that point, Harvey looks up and sees Batwoman and Wonder Woman jumping out of the jet in the sky, coming down, and it's just Batwoman just saying, "Babe, I'm home." So I like it. I think it was a solid issue. I think that it didn't have a whole lot going on to it, but this has always been a very introspective arc where it's just kind of Batwoman saying, "Here's how I feel about this," and Wonder Woman saying, "Here's how I feel about this." Now we're also adding in Medusa's, "Here's how I feel about this." And I don't know. I think it works. I think the art and the layouts are fantastic. There's never been an issue with that. But it is definitely just like, I don't even want to say it's a slower paced book because a lot has been happening. It's just kind of it's not sweating the small details, I guess. It's just like, here's the broad strokes of how we got to this point, and then we're just moving on to the next bit. We're not worried about breaking down like, but how exactly did Medusa start her attack? It's like, no, she's just in the middle of attacking. Just you accept that. So I like it. I think it's a fine issue. Overall, though, I'd say probably I'll give it a 7. I'll bump it up to a 7.5. I think that the art is honestly fantastic enough to give it that extra 0.5, and it was given a lot of the points even before that. Writing wise, you gotta be willing to read the prose. You're not going to be able to do this if you're expecting short little speech bubbles. Like, everyone has a few paragraphs all on one page to describe how they're feeling, so it takes some time, but it is good. It is a solid issue. So we will see. I think we only have one more issue in this arc, maybe 2, but we'll see how it wraps up sooner rather than later. Birds of Prey number 14, written by Duane Swierczynski, art by Romano Polenaar. Last issue we left off with the Birds of Prey discovering that a guy named Condor in Japan has Katana's katana, and they're gonna go get him. And this issue opens up with Condor watching some of the Dagger Clan bring a new shipment into town. It's like, cool. Hopefully this is something cooler than a sword, but I hope it's not a matching shield. And he comes in, beats him up, and as he goes to open up the loot, turns out that it was just full of flash grenades. And these Dagger Clan aren't actually Dagger Clan, they are the Birds of Prey in disguise trying to get his sword back. So literally, as soon as they meet, like, it's the whole misunderstanding thing where it's like, so you're just highly trained martial artists sent by the Dagger Clan, aren't you? And so they fight, because of course they do. And everyone keeps trying to, like, throw punches and batarangs and bullets at Condor, but it turns out that he has some telekinesis or something that allows him to just deflect it away from him. And Black Canary picks up on that and is like, okay, well, I bet that you can't block 2 things at once. So she both punches and kicks, and the kick manages to land, throws him off his balance enough that he falls off the building, and Black Canary's like, oh, wait, I didn't mean to do that. So she dives in after him, uses her canary cry to, like, soften the blow, and saves his life. And he's like, hey, sorry about that. And he's like, what? I can't hear. You deafened me temporarily. So Katana comes down and says, take me to my husband. And they move out. Then we're introduced to 2 guys as part of the Dagger Clan. One named Garasuki and the other named Santoku. Santoku doesn't want to be here because there's going to be some major, huge explosion that's going to go off in less than 7 hours. And Garasuki is like, suck it up. We're here for a reason. Go get me my sword. So then we go over to Condor giving back Katana. And Katana's like, yes, my husband. Hooray. I've got him back. And Condor's just like, so what are you guys doing with the Dagger Clan? And Katana tells him, I'm going to kill every last one of them. And he's like, that's like a lot of people. That seems unrealistic. I don't think you can really do that. And of course, right at that moment, the entire Dagger Clan comes in and starts attacking all of them. And basically, they realize they don't stand a chance to, like, actually beat them all like this. So Batgirl and Starling start making their way out. Black Canary and Condor use their meta powers. And Katana just starts swiping. And we see that Canary's going to use the same, like, thing that she used before. She has Condor extend his wings, and then she Canary cries to, like, get propulsion to fly out. And Batwing has her line cut. She is unable to fully escape the fight unscathed. And we see that Starling is just on the phone trying to get a hold of Amanda Waller for some reason. So anyway, Katana gets captured, and the leader of the Daggers is like, now can we please continue with your punishment? Thank you. And we see Black Canary and Condor made their way out of the building. And Canary, she like freaks out a little bit over something. She's like, not again, this can't be possible. But we don't know what it is, and Condor's like, okay, so I'm glad you kept some of your power in reserve. And then he uses his telekinesis to knock out Black Canary, and then says, I'm not going down the same road again, no matter how pretty the face. And then he leaves, and it's like just under 6 hours to detonation. I mean, I followed it, I think. Yeah, there's some purposeful mystery there at the end, but like, it's a pretty basic issue. It's just okay, Katana got her sword back, and the Dagger clan is still doing bad things. So, yeah, I mean, I don't really have anything huge to add on to it. It's just a okay issue. I mean, art-wise, it did a good job of portraying that what the telekinesis power is actually doing without like showing it off too much. It's just a couple little like swirly effects. So, I mean, it's a competent enough issue, but it does just feel like the middle part, like the part where it's like, okay, we're not really expanding on anything. We're not really doing anything else. We're just kind of moving the plot to where it needs to be and introducing Condor to the gang. So overall, I guess I'd give this one it's like a 6. It's fine. It's nothing great. It is just here. I think the only thing I could really ask for out of this is I want a little bit more on the Dagger clan itself, because it's just kind of portrayed as this like, oh, it's what Katana did beforehand, or she was kind of involved. But I don't know that specifically because I haven't gone into it. So that's really all I could ask for. But overall, it's fine on its own. It's just not standout great. Nightwing number 14, written by Tom DeFalco, art by Andrei Guinaldo. Last issue we had Nightwing realizing Lady Shiva was in town and seeing Shiva kill some random business dude who was hanging around Sonia Tuco? No, her last name's something else. But regardless, this issue picks up with Nightwing. He's like, okay, so Joker's in the city. Just want to make that clear. But also Shiva is. And I am currently fighting against a gang called the Tiger Claws because they ended up committing some other major high-profile crime that I thought was maybe Shiva, but now that I see it's them, I'm just beating them all up. So the only other crime that happened in Gotham that night was this little business guy, and I need to find out what his tie to all this is. So he calls up Lucius Fox and was like, hey, can you look up a guy named Wesley C. Bicolosi? And Lucius is like, yeah, sure. Like, I'll see what I can figure out. And so at that point, he's like, all right, Tiger Claw's taken care of. We'll see what Lucius gets. I need to go take care of the amusement park that I'm currently building. So Nightwing goes to Amusement Mile and he talks to the one guy there, Jimmy. And Jimmy's like, you know, Dick, I thought you were kind of a flake. I thought that you wouldn't show up to these things, but you have been here for every meeting that we've scheduled and you've really been on top of things. So I'm in. And also there were a couple other acts who got like good offers from different circuses, but I managed to convince them to come in with you. So we got a few acts going on. And he's like, thank you so much. That's super awesome. And then the little girl who was part of the trapeze family that was introduced recently is like, hey, Mr. Grayson, is this place safe? Because I heard that, it burned down a few months ago, and then that last trapeze artist is in jail. And it's like, yeah, those things all happened, but this place is safe, I promise you. And she's like, yay, I knew I could trust you, meaning that this place is absolutely not safe. There's no way at all. So Nightwing finally manages to get home. He straps up his broken ribs that he has, which I guess he got in like issue 12 or something. And gets a call from Sonia Branch, that's her name. And it's like, hey, sorry I had to reschedule our meeting last night. I'm going to go ahead and say, let's make it up tonight And he thinks it's a date, but then she's like, go ahead and call my assistant. She'll set something up. It's like, okay, well, I don't even know what's going on anymore. But she's busy with something with the SEC, so the Stock Exchange Commission. And at that point, Nightwing gets a call back from Lucia saying like, hey, your dude, he worked in the banking industry. He found a huge loophole in the stock exchange that would allow for like international stuff. And that's probably why he was killed. And it's like, oh, cool. Great. Thanks. So he's like, all right, Sonya's working with the SEC. That guy was working with the SEC. I need to protect Sonya. She's probably a major player here. So Nightwing's bouncing around town, and then he's just thinking like, man, isn't it weird the Joker showed up at the same time as Lady Shiva? So at that point, Shiva attacks him just on a random rooftop and just like, Shiva, it's been too long. And she's like, yes, I remember when you were a Robin. You've gotten slightly better, but you still are no match for me. And they fight, and they just keep on talking constantly of like, you could be so much more, Nightwing, if you just joined my side. And he's like, I don't want to join your side because you're bad. And she's like, yeah. Anyway, fight continues on, and throughout the end of it, we see Nightwing looking over the building's edge and seeing Sonya walk by, and she's like, Sonya, I have to protect her. And she was like, how did you know who my target was? Oh, well, doesn't matter. And so she starts to throw one of her, like, throwing knives. Nightwing tackles her at the last second, causes it to miss. And Sonya's, like, security scrambles. And they're like, Sonya, Miss Branch, inside or out? We need to lock down the area. And Branch is like, in. I'm not backing down for nothing. And Nightwing's like, that's my girl. Maybe. I'm not sure yet. And now I have the motivation I need to beat Shiva. And so he like lands 2 punches, and then Shiva figures out about his ribs being broken, so she just kicks him in the solar plex. And just like, yeah, okay, you're down. I'm going to go now. Bye. And as she's leaving, he's like, wait, hold on. You failed your mission. You didn't kill her. Why are you leaving? And she's like, who told you that was my mission? Are you sure I failed? And they make a little remark in here about how Shiva, like, is just as old as Nightwing here, but was also just as old as Nightwing when they last met. So how can she be, like, maintaining this youth or whatever? And she's like, oh, there's a reason I wear a mask. So maybe that'll get revealed. I don't know. But then he asks as she's leaving one more time, like, wait, did the Joker hire you? And she just leaves laughing in a cloud of smoke. So then we go over to the Iceberg Casino where Penguin is like, yes, he's watching all the attacks on the SEC building. And it's like, yes, you see, this was all my plan. I hired Shiva to purposely, like, even though she missed that person, the attack was enough to put the SEC scrambling, long enough for me to move all of my assets into more easily transferable ways once they closed this loophole. All I needed was time. I didn't care whether or not they succeeded. And his number 2, Ogilvy, is like, oh, you're so brilliant. You're amazing. You're a genius. By the way, how do you plan on dealing with the Joker? And Penguin's like, what? And then we go to Blackgate Prison where Raya is, the trapeze artist who was put into jail like 2 arcs ago. And Joker shows up saying, hey, would you like to hear a joke? And that's the end of that. It's okay. It's not great. I mean, it's a decent enough issue, but like, I can't overstate how 4 to 5 pages of it was quite literally just them talking about the morality of what they do. Where she was like, mine is the oldest profession. It's like, okay, yeah, I guess. It's like very noble cause, whatever. It felt like padding more so than anything else. Like, and the action was okay throughout it, but it wasn't anything that was like, no, this feels like the most dangerous assassin. It's like, no, she's just fighting in the daytime using a weird ponytail blade whip thing. It's not that incredible. So a little bit lackluster, but overall, it's a fine enough issue. I'd give it a 6.5. It's okay. It's not great, as I've been saying, but hey, next up we get Death of the Family, so more Joker stuff, yay! Red Hood and the Outlaws, number 14, written by Scott Lobdell, art by Pascal Alixe. Last issue wrapped up the whole Starfire saving her home planet thing, and the Outlaws are on their way back to Earth. And on their way back, Superman knocks on the side of the spaceship, and he's like, "Hey, Starfire, can I have a word with you, please?" And we get a whole long rambling monologue from Red Hood of like, "I don't trust Superman. He's too strong. I don't want to deal with that." So at that point, everyone's like, "Okay, well, we don't really want to deal with Superman because he could easily probably kill us." And her crew is like, "I could just vaporize him if you want." And Starfire's like, "No, you can't. You literally cannot do that." And Isabel, Jason's date for the night, chimes up like, "Maybe we just talk to him?" And they're just like, "Yeah, okay, sure, Isabel, whatever." And one member of the crew says, "We're like rounding Pluto right now. We could just teleport you back to Earth. Like, we're within range." So Starfire's like, "Yeah, sure, let's do that." So they teleport out, and Superman realizes that they teleported out because they can literally he can hear all of them. So they teleport back down to Earth, and Red Hood immediately has his guns out. He's like, "All right, he's going to be showing up here in no time." And Starfire and Arsenal are like, "Psh, he would have to move at like the speed of light to get here. And plus, he has no idea where on Earth we even would teleport to. We're fine." By the way, they teleported to Starfire's like secret island thing. So it's like, "Yeah, no, we're fine." And then, of course, Superman is literally right there in front of him. And Jason's got his guns trained on him. Starfire's starting with her, like, fire powers. And Superman's literally just like, "I don't want to fight. I just want to talk for a minute. Can we please just talk like normal people?" And Starfire's like, "Oh, Kryptonians weren't really very well liked by Tamaran because you guys are so dickish." And they all just start unleashing on Superman. And he's just like, "Okay, yeah, we're going to do this? Cool, great." And he just uses his heat vision enough to knock Starfire, Arsenal, and Red Hood on their asses, but not injure Isabel at all, mind you. And they, again, keep on going on the offensive. And Starfire, she goes in for an attack, and Superman's just like, "Hey, I said I didn't want to fight you. That doesn't mean I won't." And basically he just like backhands her, and she just ends up dropping away. Arsenal fires off a arrow that fills up his lungs with silicon, and Superman just heats up his whole body in order to burn it away. And as they're going in for one big attack as a team, Isabel chimes up again like, "Hey, maybe let's just talk to him. Why don't we try that?" And it's like, "Okay, yeah, we can do that." So Superman talks about what happened in Superman Annual, where he was attacked by Hellspawn, and he's like, "Hellspawn asked me to join him because I was an alien living on Earth. Did he come to you too, Starfire?" And Red Hood and Arsenal are like, "No way, we would have been there for that." And Starfire's like, actually, yeah, someone did show up in that issue and request I join them, but I said no." And Superman's like, "All right, well, just give me a call if anyone ever shows up and asks you like that again." And it was like, "Okay, yeah, sure, whatever." So Red Hood's like, "All right, now you can get off of our ship." And he's like aiming a gun underneath the table at Superman. And Superman just looks at it like, "I don't know where you got that space weapon, but you have the safety on." And Superman then leaves, and Red Hood's like, "Okay, we got out of that one, guys. Good job. We did it. Now we need to get out of this weird space armor stuff, and we need to figure out our next plan here." And basically they say, "You know what? Let's go back. We got to drop off Isabel at the very least." So they go back to Gotham City. And Isabel does have a place in town. So he's like, "Hey, guys, I'm just going to crash here with Isabel for a few nights. I also got some stuff to take care of in Gotham. So you guys go do whatever. I'm going to be here." So they go back to Isabel's place. It's a little bit run down because she doesn't stay in it very much, but they start making out. They, of course, do what they do. And as Jason is in the shower afterwards, he calls out to Isabel to get him a towel, and she's not answering. So he immediately rips the shower rod out of the wall, walks out into the main room, and sees that Isabel has like OD'd on something. And it, of course, reminds him of his mom. dying by overdose. And he freaks out about it because he's like, there's no way. I would have known if she was a junkie. I'm very good at sensing that stuff. But we see that the paramedics have already been called, but so has a SWAT team who's right outside the door. And there's a weatherman on TV who's literally talking directly to Jason. And he's like, oh, don't worry, I called the EMTs, but you're going to have some bigger problems. And it's like, who are you? Why did you do this to you? Or why did you do this to her? And it's like, oh, why? Because... And he rips off his fake face to reveal his real face. It's Joker. Doing the death of the family tie-in. And the SWAT team busts in and sees, her seemingly dead. Though I'm sure she'll survive. I like the Superman stuff in the fact of it just being a nice little, like clearly it just shows the tier dynamics of books where it's like Superman is in no way in danger from these guys. Like, this is definitely a street level team that just happened to go on a cosmic adventure. But they're still literally no match for Superman, and they know it. They don't have any... They're just like, Superman could literally blink and we'd all be dead. But it's just a nice little story of that. As for the death of the family stuff, we'll see how it turns out next issue. It doesn't excite me. It's not an exciting twist. I think it's set up pretty well. The shower thing, storytelling-wise and art-wise, I think that worked out really well because it is just like a full page of silence as he's grabbing the shower rod and it like snaps off. I think art-wise this issue does well. I think Pascal Alixe does a fine job here. Other than that, it's just an okay issue. It's pretty good. I'll give it like a 7. I think 7's fair. It's a low 7. It's just barely scraping to 7, but it does feel like, it wasn't anything bad. It was just a fine issue throughout. So we'll see how Death of the Family ruins that. DC Universe Presents number 14, written by Marc Andreyko, art by Robson Rocha. Last issue left off with Black Lightning watching his father about to get attacked because his father's trying to crack a drug ring in the news, and Blue Devil's grandfather being killed by a couple of hitmen who were looking for Blue Devil. This issue picks up with Blue Devil straight up exacting an unholy vengeance upon all of them. He unleashes a bunch of hellfire, and he's got like creepy text bubbles to show that he's fully not in control, and he just sets out to attack all these guys horribly. And we see that was 72 hours ago, but now he's giving the eulogy at his grandfather's funeral, and he's like, my granddad, he was writer, director, producer for all these films, even if they were a bit B-filmish. But he was my grandfather, and he truly did love me no matter how many times I'd messed up in life. So the world's a little bit darker without him. And then we cut back to Blue Devil taking one of the people who just killed his grandfather and literally zapping the soul out of his body with hellfire. And then we see it's Dan Cassidy, I believe is his name, leaning into the casket, like giving it a kiss and then saying goodbye to a whole bunch of well-wishers. And as he's looking around at the crowd, he sees Jefferson Pierce there, aka Black Lightning. We cut back one more time to the past where Blue Devil has picked up one of the last guys, and he's like, you're going to tell me who sent you to kill my grandfather. And the guy snitches that it was Tobias Whale, the drug dealer. And Black Lightning is currently out to protect his dad, and he keeps on doing the thing where it's like, Dad, dude, look out. And he's running from them, trying to protect him as much as he can, uses things like a fire hydrant and whatnot to protect him, until finally, as they're passing by a nearby car, one of the thugs that Blue Devil was holding just drops down onto it, seemingly unconscious, and he's like, hey, Black Lightning, it's you. And it's like, Blue Devil, what happened to you? And the guys who were chasing Black Lightning are like, hey, guys, it's both of our hits all in one place. We're going to get some bank tonight. And Blue Devil just unleashes his hellfire again and damns their souls to hell. And he's about to exact it on the guy he just dropped on the car, but then Black Lightning's like, wait, stop. You said you weren't one of the bad guys. Only bad guys kill. And Blue Devil's like, okay, yeah, sorry. I was in a weird headspace. My bad. You're right. We should get out of here. And Black Lightning's dad is like, well, fellas, I can give you a ride if you want. So that's where that leaves off. And then we go back to the funeral, and it's like, oh, hey, Jeff, what's up? How's it going? And it's like, oh, Dan, I'm sorry. I remember your dad used to give us parties in his studio, like after we won the football championship. And it's like, yeah, here's the thing. I know you're Black Lightning. Yeah, I managed to piece that bit together. I saw you the other night. And he's like, saw me the other night, but like, we haven't seen each other in years, unless you're Blue Devil, aren't you? And he's like, yeah, no, I totally am. Isn't that crazy? Two superheroes from the same high school. It's insane. So then Black Lightning's like, are we sure we should be talking about this, like, out here? And it's like, yeah, no, come by my place tonight, 8 p.m. So then we cut to Bel Air, where Tobias Whale is, and we see the guy that Blue Devil let live, and he's brought before him. It's just like, I sent you to do a hit and you run on me. And the guy's like, oh no, I got something for you. And he pulls out a cup from the studio that he picked up. And he's like, oh, an old movie prop. It's the Demon Chalice. If I remember correctly, it needs blood to work. And he just smashes the cup into the guy's mouth. And out of it comes like a dozen damned souls and a demon named Nibiros. So, cut back over to later that night. Jeff is meeting up with Dan at the studio. And he's like, hey, yeah, no, my grandfather gifted me this place in his will, so it's mine now. Also, I have this letter for him that I wasn't supposed to open until after he died. I'm too nervous to do it alone, so you're going to do it with me. So he opens it up, and it's basically a letter from the grandfather confessing that they are a bunch of people who stand in the way of supernatural threats and protect all of these items that were in the studio are real, but they all are powered by belief. So because he made a bunch of schlocky B films about these items, the belief waned because they were so stupidly portrayed. And so he now passes this task onto Dan, that he must protect all of these items and stop these horrific things from coming back. And Jeff is like, so you're literally like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. That's what we're doing here. And they take a look at the Blue Devil suit, and it's just like, yeah, this thing isn't like normal suit. Like, it's like skin. Like, you could see the nerves on the inside of it. This thing is weird. And Dan's like, Jeff, do you not believe in magic? We have literal aliens from outer space and Atlanteans, and you don't believe in magic? And he's like, I'm not saying, I guess. So we cut back to Whale's office, and the demon has sucked the souls out of everyone in the office, including the secretary that just came to visit. And he turns on Whale, and he's like, tell me, fat man, why shouldn't I kill you as well? And he's like, I got a deal for you. See this guy? And he holds up a picture of Blue Devil. He's like, oh, this, all right, yeah. Maybe you can be of service. So Whale tells him, like, I'll bring you this Blue Devil. And in addition to that, I will give you a fresh supply of souls that you can drain every day. In return, I want you to make me more powerful than I could possibly imagine. Demon's like, done. Deal's a deal. Let's do it. And that's the issue. I like it. Here's the thing. I think it did a good job picking Blue Devil to be the one that we are focusing on, like origin-wise, because I know nothing about him. I know absolutely nothing about Blue Devil. So to walk it through and be like, no, okay, here's his shtick, here's what he's doing, and Black Lightning is also here providing support. And maybe he'll get his own thing in a couple issues, not to say he can't, but I do think it's better to focus on Blue Devil because it is the more niche character. Like, yeah, okay, guy controls lightning. You get that. But Blue Devil is a bit harder to understand, and I'm glad I'm getting a little bit out of this, where it's a suit, kind of has a mind of its own, it's got hellfire, whole thing of protecting other demonic objects. I'm in. I enjoy the whole thing. As for the Whale Nibiros plotline, I'm not opposed, but I do need to see where it goes. It is a strange turn, to say the least, that this guy is just really into these schlocky B films to the point where he also believes that this stuff is real. I don't know. I'm 50-50. It depends on how they play it. But it is at the very least an interesting turn. So overall, I'm going to give this one I'll give it a 7.5. I really did enjoy it. I think it's a solid entry into this anthology series as it has been going so far. Justice League number 14, written by Jeff Johns, art by Tony S. Daniel. Last issue. Justice League fighting Cheetah. Cheetah bit Superman. Superman turned to a cheetah. So this issue picks up somewhere in the Congo, and Superman just starts attacking everyone. All the rest of the league, and, he's making cheetah noises like row. And at that point, some group beyond the Justice League shows up. They fire an arrow at Superman, and we see that it is a tribe. And it's like, yeah, Cheetah belonged to our tribe. Cheetah was our thing until Barbara Minerva ruined it. So she has to die so that we can save the cheetah. And Superman turns around and he starts attacking them. They blow a horn and Superman's like knocked down. He's unable to move. And Cheetah's like, you guys suck. I'm going to be back and I'm going to kill you all later. So Batman's like, Cyborg, can you reproduce that sound from that horn to keep Superman like down? And he's like, yeah, no, totally. Let's do it. So they've got Superman down. Batman and Cyborg are like, all right, we're going to stay. We're going to talk to this tribe. We're going to see if we can help Superman. Aquaman, Wonder Woman, and Flash, you guys go get Cheetah. Just deal with Cheetah. And it's like, all right, cool. And Aquaman has a plan in order on how to do it. So at this point, Batman talks to the tribe person, and Cyborg's doing like an auto-translate thing in order to be able to have them talk to each other. And the woman of the tribe, the leader, is basically like, hey, your friend here, Cheetah Boy, might be pretty special because most people would be dead by now. And he's like, yeah, no, he's kind of like the most special person on Earth, and we really kind of need him alive. So we see Flash is already caught up to Cheetah, and she tears at like the back of his calves pretty much down to the bone. So he ain't doing so hot running-wise. And Wonder Woman catches up and is like, hey, you stay put. Cheetah is my thing. And I don't want you getting hurt. And he's like, no. Cheetah attacked Justice League. Cheetah's an all of us thing now. And I'm going to help you. And my thing's already healing up. But, like, I can get it fixed. It's not healing right, but I'll get it fixed up later. So, at that point, Batman is like, okay, what do you know about the Cheetah Magic Tribe Lady? And Tribe Lady's like, okay, we've got this little potion thing. If we use it soon enough, it should stop the infection of Cheetah powers in Superman. And she drips it on there and it's just like, okay, here's what you need to know. Cheetah wants to slaughter our whole tribe because we want to slaughter her. She already killed my brother last night. So yeah, we're pretty pissed off at her. And then we get into the history of Cheetah, where apparently Cheetah is a cheetah god that once every like generation picks someone in this tribe to be bestowed with cheetah god powers. And they hunt with the tribe and protect the tribe and whatnot. Until one day, this woman's mother was chosen to be the cheetah person. She was in her cheetah mode. And she was stabbed by a knife called the God Slayer, which apparently killed many other deities, including the lioness Paquette of Egypt, the frigid Scaoi, and the mysterious alien sun god. So just in case any of those come up later. Point being is that the other god just died, but because of the possessive power of the cheetah god, it possessed the God Slayer knife, and then it didn't, move to anyone else until the next person is sliced, which just so happened to be Barbara Minerva. And as long as she's alive, their generational protection thing can't kick into effect again. So they have to kill Barbara in order to free the cheetah spirit. So they really don't like her that much. So at that point, we see the fight between Cheetah and Wonder Woman has continued. And Aquaman's plan was basically, hey, let's get her over to like the river. And then once she's in the river, I can definitely contain her. So Wonder Woman kicks her off the edge of a cliff down into the river. Aquaman uses some piranhas to hold her still. And yeah, Cheetah is caught. And so Wonder Woman's then talking to Cheetah. By the way, Superman got cured somewhere in there. Wonder Woman's talking to Cheetah, who's now in Belle Reve prison. And Cheetah's like, hey, the tribe told you everything about my cheetah powers, right? Which means you know the cheetah is not bad. It's me, Wonder Woman. Barbara Minerva is bad. I'm the one who corrupted the cheetah powers. And Wonder Woman's like, I don't buy it. I think that's stupid. So, no, I believe in you. And one day I will let you out of here. Goodbye. And at that point, we see Cheetah is talking to somebody that we can't see, possibly even just using like a headset or something. And she says how she's in Belle Reve and she can wait and just to notify her when Black Manta arrives. So something's going on there. And then we get the retcon. And I want to really point out, this is a retcon. At least I think it is. Batman did some research, and as it turns out, Barbara Minerva is not her real name. She is a criminal who has assumed many names, including Priscilla Rich, Deborah Domain, and Sabrina Balarestos. She's wanted for multiple crimes, including fraud, theft, assault, and even attempted murder. She is a bad person who just so happened to get the cheetah. Like, she was posing as an archaeologist, and she got cheetah powers. But she is a criminal first. And Wonder Woman's like, I don't like that. I thought she was my friend. I don't even know who I can trust anymore. So Wonder Woman sulks away, and Superman comes after her, and is just like, hey, no. You were choosing to believe in the good of people. That's a good trait. You're a good person. And it's like, I can't even trust my instincts anymore. What am I supposed to do? He's like, you can trust me. He's like, I don't know that much about you, Superman. It's like, well, let me change that. So Superman takes her down to Smallville, and they go down to a local diner. And everyone's like, oh my God, Superman and Wonder Woman are at our diner. And they're having some pancakes, and Superman just points out, like, I wanted to bring you here to show you that these are the types of families that I fight for. This is the good in the world. You don't focus on the bad. Like, we run into enough bad stuff. You need to remember there's good in the world as well. And he takes her to the old Kent farm, and he points out, like, yeah, no, I lived here. This was a place where I was raised, and I sold the farm. The house still belongs to me, and I come back here every once in a while when I need to remember what it is I'm fighting for. And he goes over to Wonder Woman and says, like, look, good things are sometimes just good things. Like, you don't need to look for the bad in them. They are actually good things. And they walk up, they kiss each other, and they start floating up in the air. And then we see an itty-bitty little light on Superman's back, and we see that it's a camera from the sky, and Batman's being a spying prick, watching them make out. And that's where we end off. Okay, so for an issue, this little pair of issues, I like how it developed the Superman-Wonder Woman dynamic, because it really had to sell that. It's very important that they make that convincing. And I think it did a good job. It did a good job of saying, like, yeah, no, we have... These two are going to be a couple, and they're selling it to us as to why they would be a couple. I'm okay with that. I like the aspect that Batman knows, despite the fact they're keeping it on the down low. That's another interesting thing. But, of course, Batman would know. Why wouldn't he? But what it really comes down to in terms of the rating here is the Cheetah twist, where, no, she wasn't just an innocent archaeologist or whatever she was. She was evil. She was a bad person. She was a villain. I can't say I like that. I think that it undermines the character a lot. So, yeah, no, I'm just I don't know. That does take it down for me a little bit here. That, I don't know, it just feels so edgy for no reason. Like, it's like, no. Everyone you know is actually evil. It's like, okay, well, do we have to? So overall, I'm going to say... Overall, it's still a good issue, so I'm going to give it a 7. But just know that it would have been higher had we not done Cheetah as actually, like, evil before Cheetah. That was a part I didn't read. Wonder Woman number 14, written by Brian Azzarello, art by Tony Atkins, with additional help from Dan Green and Rick Berchet. Last issue we left off with Wonder Woman coming across the tomb, I guess, of Soraka, one of Zeus's other children, trying to get her help in getting her half-brother back. But we first pick up with the firstborn, who is still in Antarctica, and the science team that discovered him is just staring him down, and it's just like, okay, he's just standing there. What do we do? And one of the scientists goes up and talks to it, and just like, can I ask? And he's like, no, you can't. Don't disturb me. He's like, okay, yeah, sorry. It just seems like you're waiting for someone, and it's been like 7,000 years. And the firstborn picks up the guy and is like, I'm sorry, you said how long? And it's like, well, I mean, we're estimating roughly based off of how deep you were. It's like, I climbed from the molten pit of this earth to its frozen surface. How long was that? It's like 7,000 years. It's like, wow, okay, yeah, that's a lot to take in. So at that point, the scientist is like, yeah, it's a puzzle. Historians are not sure, but yes, we know about you and your brother's firstborn. So then we go back to the Soraka and Wonder Woman fight, and Soraka's like, you are literally protecting Hera, and Hera is literally the worst. And he's like, I'm doing it to save the life of a child. And it's like, oh, a child's life. You want to hear about child's life? All right, let me tell you about child's life. And she goes over her own history, where in Palestine, 1917, she was just tending sheep out in a field when Hera showed up and was like, oh, you're a pretty girl. You have your father's nose. And it's like, oh, thank you. And it's like, I never met my father. And he's like, oh, yeah, is that your mother over there? And he's like, yeah. And it's like, cool. And she whips up a sandstorm that immediately just kills her mother. And he's just like, and now for your turn. And the sandstorm rips apart Soraka, just flesh from the bone, and just leaves her there as nothing. But because she is part god, her consciousness was just ethereal, just floating everywhere and nowhere all at once. And Zeus eventually took pity on Soraka, gave her a form, but, her family died before her eyes. She's still a bit bitter. And Wonder Woman's like, I'm sorry, Soraka, I didn't know any of that. I didn't know that Hera did those horrible things to you. And it's like, yeah, and you're still protecting her. And it's like, yeah, Hera killed my mom too. Literally turned all of my Themyscirian sisters into snakes. I'm also upset with Hera. And Soraka's like, then why in the hell are you protecting? Let's just go kill her. That sounds like a much better plan. And Wonder Woman's like, I have to believe that Hera has the ability to undo the things she did, and I'm hoping that maybe I can get to that point with her. And Soraka's like, that's stupid. You're an idiot. How dare you think that? And Wonder Woman then is like, look, I've got a new family now. I found out that I have half brothers and sisters from Zeus. I have built a god family of people that I know and I trust, and I want you to be a part of that. And she grabs the hand of Soraka and just be like, you are my sister. We shouldn't be fighting. And she hugs her. So then we go to the new Mount Olympus, where the rooftop pool party's still going on. And War is just chuckling at how, I'm still forgetting her name, the moon one. I want to say Artemis, but that's the hunt one. I can't remember. The moon one. How she got a shiner from Wonder Woman. And Apollo's like, Ares, why are you laughing? What's going on? And it's like, oh, it's you said that there was a threat of Wonder Woman, or of some child of Zeus coming and making a play for the throne. Well, hey, I'm a child of Zeus, and I would gladly kill all of you, except for you, what's your name? Aphrodite, because you're super hot, and you, Hephaestus, because you're good at what you do. But otherwise, the rest of you, I hate you all, go die. I'm out. And he leaves. And Apollo's like, okay, Dio, the little brother here, I need you to follow War. Everyone else, can we just agree that War has lost his mind? Yeah, we're good? Okay, let's do something about that. So we go back to the firstborn, and we get the he's like, all right, scientist guy, what do you know about my past? And he's like, all right, here's what we got. There was a witch, and this witch made, on the day of your birth, said that you would be the sole inheritor of the throne of Olympus. And Zeus, he was not going to let that happen, so he ordered you to be cast out and killed. But Hera pleaded that you be allowed to live, and the witch carried you out into the wilderness and dared not disobey Zeus, but also didn't have to directly kill you herself. So she just left you there in the wilderness, and you managed to survive because you were Zeus's firstborn. And the firstborn's like, yep, that's how it happened. How do you know all that? It's like, we found the witch's body 60 years ago. It was tattooed all over her. the entire story, along with the location of your armor and weapons and other things you need. And firstborn's like, all right, cool. Then I think we could probably work together. But first, I'm waiting here for a sign to see who is the rightful heir of, like, who has taken what rightfully belongs to me. And the sun rises, and he's like, it's Apollo. Of course, it's Apollo. That dick. So then we go back to Sirach and Wonder Woman. They're just walking, talking to each other. And Wonder Woman's like, so are you going to help me? And it's like, you said Hermes took the kid? Look, I am literally the personification of the wind, and words carry on the wind. So I'll just listen to see if I hear him anywhere in the world. And you see all these speech bubbles pop up of every word being said in the world all at once. And it's like, no, either he's not on Earth or he's not speaking. But either way, I can't help you out there. Although our other brother, Milan, might be able to help. And Wonder Woman's like, where's he? It's like, oh, he's in New York. Anyway, we're cool now, Wonder Woman. I'm not going to come with, but we're cool. So then Wonder Woman's like, all right, well, bye. So then we get one last page here of Orion and Highfather of the New Gods. And Highfather's telling Orion, like, hey, we got a problem. And Orion's like, tell me who I need to hit. And he's like, it's not one of those problems, Orion. The source, the thing that made the universe, it's ending. And with it, all of time is ending. And it's like, oh, well, that sucks. Where's the threat coming from? And Highfather's like, it's coming from Earth. So get down there and help that. So, yeah. Don't know why that's happening in a Wonder Woman book. Clearly it's about the fact they're new gods, but still a bit weird. I like it, but I think the part I like the most is the Firstborn stuff. I think the Soraka stuff is just kind of like tossed in there for an expanded mythology, but the Firstborn feels like the plot that's actually going to matter. As for the rooftop scene with the war, like, it's fine. It's not great, though. I'm a bit... I don't particularly think any of that stuff that's currently going on there is going to stick long enough for it to matter. I feel like as soon as Wonder Woman gets the chance, she's going to tear apart, like Kratos style, the entire Pantheon. So, I don't know. I'll be interested. Yeah, no, it's playing with some deep stuff. It's building up its plots. I like it. I think it's art-wise, it looks very good. It did waste a few too many pages. I'm like, you don't understand how mean Hera is. And Wonder Woman's like, yeah, I do. And they just went on that for like 4 pages straight. So I'm going to give this one I'll give it a 7. I think it's good. I don't want to say it's not, but it is definitely not as amazing as it has been in the past couple issues. So here's hoping we can flip it around a little bit with the next half-brother showing up. Blue Beetle number 14, written by Tony Bedard, art by Ig Guara and Marcio Takara. Last issue left off with Kaji Da, aka Jaime Reyes, and Kaji Ka going off to fly to the Scarab, creation planet, like the home world, and Sky Witness, the original owner of Kaji Da way back when it fell to Earth, following up after them. And this issue picks up still on the trip, but Blue Beetle Jaime is learning a bit more about his suit and how it can do a lot more stuff, and he's currently transformed into strength mode, which is this big bulky looking mode. And he's like, does this suit make my butt look fat? And Kajikai's like, how did you manage to survive for so long? Like, look, this is what your suit can do. And he turns into strength mode and speed mode and all that. He's like, you can literally do all this as well. And he's like, okay, but I think my armor's a little bit busted. It just doesn't remember these modes? And it's like, yeah, all right, here. And Kajikai uploads, basically does not a factory reset, but just uploads the basic stuff into Kajida, and he turns into strength mode and then speed mode. And he's like, perfect, you can depopulate a whole planet now. And Jaime's like, depopulate. Have you ever, depopulated a planet before? And Kai's like, yeah, I'm a scarab, clearly. I started with my own planet. And Jaime starts talking to his own scarab like, I think we might have hitched a ride with a serial killer. And the Scarab's like, we need to leave now. This is a suicide mission, man. But they are still making their way to Scarab World, the source of all of the armors. So Jaime tries to justify it. He's like, if we take out this planet, then we can save like billions of lives, right? And the Scarab's like, you're going to die, man. Like, is that really worth it? But they're still heading towards the planet, and Sky Witness is in his own ship, not too far from behind. So they both just jump out of the ship and let it crash into the planet, cause a big explosion. Kai says, the drone workers, the soldiers, they'll go investigate the explosion while they're free to then go attack the hatchery. So they make their way over to the hatchery and start trying to make their way inside. But before they do, Sky Witness just crashes his own ship into Kaji Kai. And in the explosion, Jaime's like, do a scan. Tell me if he's still alive in there. Something's got to be going on. And Sky Witness jumps out of the explosion and grabs onto Jaime. And it's just like, hey, screw this loser. Screw this little boy from El Paso. You and me, Scarab, we had something real. And Jaime's like, what? Is this your ex-boyfriend? What's going on here? And Scarab can't remember him at all. Has no idea who it is. And he pulls out the blaster and gets ready to fire. But something in the protocols is not letting the Scarab fire on Sky Witness because he recognizes it as a part of himself. So at that point, we see that Kaji Kai did survive, and he just starts blasting Sky Witness like crazy to the point where he's forced to run off. And that has managed to alert everybody on the planet to the fact that the Beetles are here. So it's like, all right, well, now we get to die like warriors. And Jaime's like, what? What do you mean die like warriors? I don't want to know. So at that point, they go bug squashing, as Jaime put it. And Jaime's like, hey, Bug Suit, could you maybe, I don't know, do a countermeasure like you usually do? And he pulls out this new, like, super, I want to say energy blast or something like that, something that he hasn't used before. He's like, where'd that come from? It's like, I told you, I uploaded new stuff into you. This is the basic model stuff. So they make their way into the hatchery. And it's like, yeah, all right, we're going to make our way in there, and we're just going to blow up the place. And Jaime's like, there are going to be guards in there, aren't there? And he's like, are you just going to bitch and moan about, like, everything we do here today? Is that what you're going to do? And he's like, all right, well, no need to be mean. So they make their way into the hatchery, and Kaji Kai starts, like, hacking away at the computer. The guards start showing up on Jaime's, blasting them long enough to give him some time. And he's like, all right, cool, I'm done, let's go. And they start making their way out of the facility. And Jaime's like, you shut down the production chain? He's like, shut it down. No, I said it's for a chain reaction. This whole planet's about to go up. And Jaime's like, we don't even have a ride, man. You crashed our ride. What are we supposed to do? And they make their way over to, for some reason, there's just a whole shipyard here. And we see one dude who I guess was smuggling stuff in at the request of one of these drones. And they were trying to keep it on the down low, but now that there's been an explosion on the planet, security's heightened up, so he's not able to leave. And the guy's like, hey, I've got perishables on board. I gotta go. Who'd be stupid enough to attack the Scarab World anyway? And the Beetles are like, that'd be us. Hi, how's it going? And Kaji Kai shoots the drone worker. The smuggler runs inside his ship and does an emergency takeoff. Jaime manages to get himself wedged inside of the closing space door, like the hatch, and Kaji Kai's like, Jaime, where are you going? Don't leave me behind. And he's like, I'm not trying to, I'm stuck in the door. And the ship takes off and starts flying away. Kaji Kai tries catching up to it. Jaime gets inside. He's like, hey, my friend's out there. Can we maybe open the door? We're good guys, actually. And he's like, I don't care if you guys are the best men alive. You're scarabs. And, like, I frankly don't want you on the ship, let alone two of them. So the guy jumps into, like, hyperspace. And Kaji Kai's like, damn you, Jaime Reyes, betraying me like this. And as they get away from the planet, the entire planet explodes. And Kaji Kai supposedly with it. And then we see, hanging on to the side of the ship in deep space, is Sky Witness, who's like, yes, I will never let you go, my second skin. And that's where it leaves off. I like this issue. It was just fun. Like, it wasn't even anything that it did. It was just a fun time. Like, we went in, we blew up a planet, we had this whole extra fight, and then the whole thing of curse your betrayal. Like, No, it was just fun. It was just a good time all throughout. I really can't fault it for really anything. Um, no, I'm genuinely trying to think of something to even nitpick, just like to even say anything else. But it is just a fun time. It's obviously not, standout great. It's not amazing, but it's fun. That's so necessary sometimes with all the grimdark in half these stories. This is just like no, he's just a kid in space and he's just way in over his head. I'm so down for that. So overall, I'm gonna give this one I'm gonna give it an 8. I genuinely just enjoy it. It's just a solid book all around, and I can't fault it for much of anything. Legion of Superheroes number 14, written by Paul Levitz, art by Scott Collins. Last issue we left off with Cosmic Lad being attacked by members of his own race and seemingly being knocked out from it. And things did not go well from there. This issue we pick up with Brainiac telling Element Lad and Chemical Kid how to build like a tracker to scan space and figure out where the other members of his race are. So it's like, all right, go find them and deal with the problem. We see Cosmic Lad is being brought into space surgery because, it was a very serious head injury. And we see, I think, his mother there, and they're like, we're not allowed to use metallic surgery things because of his magnetism, but he has literally no ambient magnetism reading going on right now. That's weird. So anyway, they go to this mining asteroid that they find the Raiders on, and so it's like, okay, we're here, we got the element of surprise, let's go after them. And I'm not entirely sure what they're doing to attack them besides, melting some weapons and stuff, but specifically, Chemical Kid says, try being an oxygen breather with me shutting down your hemoglobin receptors, which makes me think he just killed them by literally suffocating them through their own blood, which seems really hardcore for the Legion, but I don't know, maybe I'm misreading that. Anyway, the magnetism group shows up and they start attacking, and Chemical Kid's like, I'm ready this time, and he starts to attack one of them, and then a rock drops on Element Lad's head, and he's like, why does this keep happening? So then we cut back to Legion headquarters, and Brainiac is looking over that Golden Woman's brain, and she's like, I have no idea what I'm even looking at here, but I have to figure out why she betrayed the Legion. So he's looking in her head, and he finally gets to the part in her memories, and there's one moment that keeps on replaying, and it is the moment where she was attacked by the evil Saturn Queen, which I'm just going to point out did not happen in this book. It happened pre-Flashpoint. It happened in the book prior to issue 1. I don't know this. And it's just like, oh yeah, she was attacked by a Saturn Queen, and she was given some psychiatric trigger in order to make her want to kill Brainiac at some point. That deep brainwashing that she didn't even know she had as soon as she had an opportunity to kill Brainiac. Sure, but why? Anyway, so we get back to the mining league, and Chemical Kid's like, geez, Element Lad, wake up, you gotta wake up, I'll get you out of here. Picks up Element Lad, drags him into a nearby cave so the miners aren't able to attack. And he's like, okay, I'll just stay alive in here, and I'll wait for help to arrive. And he sends out a distress signal, and he's like, no, wait, I am not just a trainee, I'm a full-fledged Legionnaire, and it's all up to me. So then we go to across the galaxy to some giant weapons cache, where I guess it's all the most dangerous weapons in the universe, and they just keep them all in one place. And if any of them ever are removed, even a little bit, the entire place will self-destruct in a massive supernova. And it's Phantom Girl and, I don't know, he's got a sun on his chest, and they're both in there. And they finally are coming for the thing they're looking for, which is one of the Fatal Five, their axe. And it's still in there. It's still sitting there. It's like, all right, so they didn't get the axe. And Phantom Girl's like, now, wait a minute. And she reaches into the thing, and she tries to touch it, but it turns out it's also just a projection. And it's just like, well, Someone took the axe, which means either A, it literally wasn't here from the moment that you built this place, or B, someone beat your super good defenses. And it's like, all right, well, Fatal Five are back. That's disappointing. So we go back to Chemical Kid, and he's like, I can use my chemical powers to speed up your biorhythms or whatever to get you to wake back up and heal yourself. And he does that, and he wakes up and is just like, all right, cool. I'm back in action. Now let's finish this. And he, like, drills a hole through the cave in order to see where the miners are. And it's like, all right, there's some empty fuel things over there. I'm going to do some stuff, and then you do some stuff, and we set it to explode. Got it? So they do that, and they attack the miners and easily take them all down because, sure, why not? So with the miners down, they're like, all right, we did it. And then remember, he sent out a distress call earlier, so 3 other Legionnaires show up, and he's like, don't worry, guys, we got a handle on it. And the other Legionnaires are like, oh, well, these miners think they're so cool when they're on their homeworld, but they don't know what it's like to mess with a Legionnaire. Dun-dun-dun. All right. Number one, and the biggest problem, I think, by far, is why are we referencing pre-Flashpoint continuity? And I know this book wasn't influenced by Flashpoint. It didn't get a reboot. And no one ever seems to acknowledge that. But the difference being is that all the other books that didn't get a reboot, whenever they have something that happened before the reboot, they make sure to give you a little bit of an explanation as to like, hey, remember when this thing happened? And then they give like a short little recap and then say like, yeah, that thing happened. This one just says, hey, Saturn Queen attacked and she put in this deprogramming. You should remember that. And it's like, I don't. I wasn't here. I don't know what you're talking about. It's just poor storytelling at that point, honestly. So as for the rest of it, it's a whatever story. If they're doing something with Cosmic Dude losing his magnetism powers, like, I don't know, there's something there, I guess. I'm sick of being angry at the Legion. I really am. I just wanted to find its feet. It almost had something with Chemical Kid being like, no, I'm a Legionnaire. Because, like, if we had followed this kid's arc in any meaningful way, where, like, he was our perspective character of coming into the Legion and learning about things, I'd be a little bit more understanding. But it wasn't. He's barely been a focus, and it's just like now it's like, no, now's my time to shine. It's like, oh, really? 14 issues in, and now's your time to shine? Wow. All right, cool. So, yeah, no, it's a mess. I'm going to give this one, though, like, I'll give it a 5.5. It is not abysmal. You know what? No, I'm taking away the 0.5. It is just a 5. Anything that it had going for it is canceled out by the fact that they just offhandedly mentioned this, like, yeah, no, this thing that happened before you started reading. Like, no, as soon as you start with a new number 1, you have to retell me what happened there. You don't get to just say, and this happened a while back. No. Screw that. I'm sick of you. Sword of Sorcery number 2, written by Christine Marks, art by Aaron Lopresti. Last issue we left off with the group finally making their way out of the forest and getting away from their attackers. And we see this issue that they have made it all the way to House Citrine, where basically Amaya's like, don't throw up. Oh god, you just killed a guy, don't throw up. Oh geez. And Ingvi is there, like, wow, I'm surprised you didn't throw up. First time I had to kill someone, I definitely was puking my guts out. And she's like, you're not helping. And Ingvi just explains, we had no choice. They were going to kill us. Like, we did what we had to do to survive. But either way, we made it back here to Manipur, the central city of House Citrine, home of the Great Archive. And we see Lady Graciole is meeting with the head of house, Lady Senshi, thanking her for her house's loyalty, and they go in and talk to an emissary from House Onyx. And if Amethyst is like the ruling house and Citrine is the house of knowledge, record keeping, Onyx seems to be more the house of like secrets and or like contracts, as this emissary's like, hey, we kept your portal stone secret for 17 years, just as you requested. Our contract is now finished. And she's like, yep, nope, we're good. We're square. Thank you so much. So they leave the portal stone just hanging around Citrine because Lady Gracial thinks that there's no one's ever going to find the one on the other side on Earth, lo and behold. So at this point, Amaya's looking at her costume that she got put into, and she's like, hey, I got these weird ribbon things under my arms, but like, they're like weightless. I don't even feel them. What are they? And apparently they're mist silk, which is made by the weavers of House Turquoise. So Turquoise is the textile house. And apparently they are unable to be like cut by swords or daggers or anything. Like they're literally made of mist. So, and it's like, oh yeah, that's very rare fabric, and you only get it because you come from the House of Turquoise. And Amaya's like, excuse me, I'm part House Turquoise? Is that who my father is? And Ingvid's like, I shouldn't have said that. So at that point, Amaya and them walk out, and the head of House Citrine is like, come, Amaya, record your first words here in Gemerald, whatever the name of the place is. And she's like, how y'all doing tonight? Can I start over? And she's like, yeah, no, we'll do this another time. So then they start talking about the House Turquoise leader, and it's Lord Farasha, who is actually Amaya's grandfather, because Amaya's father was killed at some point in the intermediate past here, and he was forced to take back up the head of household as he had no other heirs. So they meet up with Lord Farasha, and he's like, oh, my granddaughter, hello, you look so much like your father, Virion. And she's like, my father's name is Virion? And Farasha's like, dude, you didn't even tell my son's name? And it's like, I didn't tell her anything. We had to be better safe than sorry. It's like, still, it's my son's name. Come on now. So there's a little bit tense there, but they all sit down, have some dinner, and they start talking about House Diamond, who Lord Prince Rayshan, when they left, had then become Lord Rayshan. Turns out that Lady Gracial was to be married to Rayshan, but she fell in love with, I'm already blanking on his name again, Virion, and they ran away to Earth. So that's why that fell through. And the sister, what's her name? Morgul. Morgul married Rayshan in order to fulfill the contract between the houses, but the marriage fell through because Morgul is unable to have a child. And Gracial's like, okay, that can work. We can use that. We can use the fact that she can't have an heir. That's useful to us. So at that point, she's like, all right, the plan's going to continue on. I'm going to share the power of Amethyst with my daughter Amaya. And they're like, are you sure that's a good idea? It's like, nope, that's the plan. That's what we're doing. So we cut over to Morgul, who is inside her, tower or whatever, where she gets her power from. And she tells one of her guards, like, you are to guard that door, and you're not to let anybody in until I call you in. Do you understand? And he's like, yeah, no, totally. Are you sure that she's still going to follow through on the plan? And it's like, yeah, no, she's a goody two-shoes. Of course she's going to do on the plan, but I followed the path of blood. I know what to do. So they get to talking, and later that night, Amaya and her mother is just like, so you're telling me you had this power on Earth like the whole time? And Graciel's like, yeah, I used it a little bit at first, but then people started getting freaked out, so I kind of just kept it to myself. And here's the thing. You are going to have that power too. But when I transfer some of my power to you, it's also going to be draining it from my sister. So it'll be the two of us against the one of her. Like it'll up our odds, but it's very important that you do this. And she's like, you're not going to die or something, are you? It's like, no. Dying is not part of the plan. But yeah, just follow the plan. So we see House Diamond. One of the princes comes in to celebrate one of his soldiers' marriages. He brings a bottle of wine, and the soldier is distraught because the other prince, Zushan, has claimed the right to sleep with the wife first and take her virginity. And the prince storms off to go get his brother, and it's just like, hey, go to your husband, You be with him tonight. And as for you, other prince, dude, you can literally have any woman you want in terms of all of your mistresses and the whores you could buy. Why you gotta take from our dedicated soldiers? And he's like, I'll take what I want. How dare you? And he's like, oh yeah? Well, I got a knife that's trained 3 inches above your dick. Maybe I'd take whatever I want as well. And he leaves. So then we go to House Citrine, and we get the transference of power thing. And everyone seems a little bit tense, and Amaya picks up on it. She's like, someone's not telling me something here. And Graceful's like, now here's the deal. When we open up the power gates, she's going to be able to sense all your thoughts, and you're going to be able to sense hers. And the only thing you need to remember is I love you more than anything else. Okay? Cool? Just remember that. Just keep that in mind. All right? Here we go. So they start the power transfer, and all of Morgil's thoughts start pouring into Amaya, and she's like, oh my god, this unbelievable power. I need more. I have to have more. And in order to have more, all I have to do is kill my mother. I'll do it. I'll kill my mother. And then she looks at her mom, who's like, oh no, please remember I love you. And she's like, geez, okay, yeah, snaps out of it. And the power transfer is complete. And we cut over to Morgil, who has lost now 1/6 of her power. And she summons two people, shadow walkers from the House of Onyx, and are like, hey, got a contract for you, kill Lady Glacial. And they're like, that will completely ostracize us from our own house. What do you have to offer that make that worth it? She's like, House Onyx is weak. You guys should be in control anyway. I'll help you do that. Also, here's 2 portal stones. You in? And they're like, yeah, all right, we're in. Oh, and by the way, don't kill Princess Amaya. That's very important. So that's the issue. I love this book. I think the lore behind this, just how well crafted and well thought out it is. We have this whole house structure, like the militaristic diamonds who want to vie for control against the amethysts. We have all this extra stuff. It's just so well made. The whole and not even getting down to the fact the characters are likable. I understand where each person's place is just by like how they interact with the other people. It's so well done. I really don't have, and the art is great the whole way through as well. I really don't have any bad words to say about it. I'm going to give this one, I'm giving it a 9. And the only reason I don't go higher is that it is just kind of a middle chapter. It's not doing anything amazingly bombastic, but it is so good. Like Sword of Sorcery, I am ashamed to say that this is the only volume of this book. It is such a good book, and I cannot wait to continue down it. And that's it. That's all the comics that came out from DC Comics this November 21st, 2012. And I didn't say it at the top of the episode, but hey, happy Thanksgiving. This is the last episode before Thanksgiving for us Americans. And I think last year I said something about like celebrate by go colonizing something or whatever. Just play that joke again, because I cannot be bothered today to think of anything clever, as you've seen over the past 13 comics. So I'm just going to speed through this ending bit, if that's all the same to you. Okay, cool, thanks. So next week we have 14 comics, including the number 14 issues of Batman the Dark Knight, Superman, Red Lanterns, Aquaman, The Flash, The Fury of Firestorm, The Savage Hawkman, All-Star Western, Teen Titans, I, Vampire, and Justice League Dark. Additionally, we have the number 5 issue of Batman Incorporated, the number 4 issue and the finale of Phantom Lady and Dollman, and the number 2 issue of Talon. So if I'm not dead next week, that's what we'll be talking about. But honestly, got like a 50-50 shot of that right now. So let me tell you about Twitter. It's going downhill fast, but we still have an account there, at DC Comics Podcast. That is at DC Comics Podcast. Go ahead and hit me up with any questions or comments as to how I'm supposed to get over this cold. Yes, I'm harping on it. It's literally all consuming for me right now. As well as the Twitter, we also have a Patreon that you can give money to. That is Mild Fuzz TV, all one word, Mild Fuzz TV. Go ahead and spend your money there because, I mean, what are you really going to use it for otherwise? And that'll be it for me. I am going to lay down, and I'm not going to get back up, and you can't stop me. So thank you very much for watching, listening, however it is you consume this podcast. Be sure to give it a thumbs up or a like or 5 stars or rate it on Uber. I don't know what you do with you crazy kids in your apps. Anyway, thank you so much. And as always, try to remember, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.